everyone, welcome. Today I am sharing with you 5 old-fashioned frugal ways to use leftover pieces of bars of soap. Now, that may sound kind of boring, but I assure you that's not what this video is about. Now, this video is not about how to take slivers of bars of soap and just transforming into another bar of soap. That's not what this video is about. This video is about a whole lot more. And if you can appreciate the nostalgic nuances of post-Depression era frugality, you will appreciate my relationship with my mom and a bar of soap. Now, my mom was the queen of multipurpose. So a bar of soap was used for many different things in our house. And I'm going to discuss with you 5 ways that my mom did use a bar of soap and maybe a few more stories. So I hope you will enjoy my rich youth of my mom and a bar of soap. Should be fun. Now don't forget to subscribe because I have a bonus hot tip at the end for you. Okay, so let's just get this story right out of the box. And I know that everybody has heard stories about the way that their mom or their dad took a bar of soap and used it as a way to deter a child from using cuss words. And I do have that one story, and it happened to me once, and that's just another one of those relationships between me, my mom, and a bar of soap. So just to set the stage a little bit for the story, you have to know that my dad did enjoy some cussing, and I also went to Catholic school in my elementary years. And after kindergarten, I guess I decided in first grade I was feeling a lot more comfortable and I was going to show off some of the words that I had learned from a man that I totally respected and how it backfired on me. So one day I came home from school and I didn't know what I was walking into. And sure enough, my mom was waiting for me there and my dad was sitting at the kitchen table just looking down. And I knew something was about ready to happen. And I was only in first grade, so I remember this like it was yesterday. And my mom, I guess, had just got off the phone with the school, and it was reported that I had used some cuss words and shared them with the students, and that was not allowed in school. So when I got home, the first thing my mother said was, "Did you use cuss words in school?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course I did." And she goes, "Well, that's not the way that I raised you." And I'm stunned, not knowing what to expect. She says to me, "Do I have to wash your mouth out with soap?" And those were the first times I heard those words, and I just looked at her and I said, "You want to what?" And she proceeded to take me by the arm and took me into the bathroom and said, "Stick out your tongue." So, what else do? You stick out your tongue. And she took the bar of soap, which I believe it was ivory soap, and she took that ivory soap right off of the sink and just put it down my tongue like 3 times. And I was like, oh my God, what is with my mom? And So that's the first time I learned about what else a bar of soap could be used for. Now, my mom happened to turn that whole thing around because when I graduated from high school, she took a bar of soap and put "Congratulations, Diane" on my car windows. So she did have a way of using bars of soap that could either surprise you or delight you. And I'm just going to share a few more ways with you. So that was my tip number one, was to use a bar of soap, not for washing out your kid's mouth after they have cussed, but to write on their windows a message of hope or good luck or congratulations and well wishes. Okay, so we're already off to tip number two. And my mom took those scraps of soap. You can call it scraps of soap. I think we called it slivers of soap. You can call it leftover soap. Whatever it is, it's the smallest pieces of soap that kind of accumulate and nobody knows what to do with. And my mother had a few ingenious ideas of what to do with them. So she would take those little bars of soap or slivers or whatever was left over, and she would put them into a nylon stocking, and that would go into our dresser drawers to keep our clothes fresh. And she used them as a way for storage. So when we took our winter clothes and we packaged them all up and they went into the basement, she also had the little slivers of soap in like nylon bags, and she would put it in the storage totes with our winter clothes or our summer clothes, whatever we were putting away for the season. And she did that just to keep them smelling fresh, to keep maybe spiders out. She just prevented any musty odor that can occur in a basement or from storage. So that was tip number two. And I just want to remind you that there are a few more tips coming along, and there is a hot tip coming. For tip number three, my mom would piggyback soap. Now, there's no real other way to explain it, and I'll put up pictures of what I mean by piggybacking, but if you had a small sliver of soap and you had the one fresh new bar of soap, you could take that small sliver of soap and create like a soap slurry and stick it onto the fresh new bar of soap, so they kind of piggybacked each other and just made one bar. Now, I said I wasn't going to tell you how to make a bar of soap, and I kind of just did that, so sorry. Oh, oh well. All right, so tip number four. Tip number four was my mom would take those slivers of soap and she would put it around the border of the garden. Now, she put it around the border of the garden to keep rodents out and bugs, because she really wasn't a fan of rodents or bugs or anything that was getting on to our plants. So she just wanted to deter any insect or rodent activity that could possibly get into our garden and ruin our crop for the year. Okay, we're already on tip number five, and don't forget to stay for that hot tip. So here's tip number five. Now, I lived at home until I was about 19, so I had a dresser, the same dresser, until I left home, and it was still there years later. But it eventually got squeaky, like the wood was rubbing against each other, and it just became obnoxious. I guess there's only one way to say it, and it would resonate throughout the house. And my mom finally said, we got to do something about that squeaky dresser drawer that you have, because we can hear it throughout the house, and we know whenever you're shuffling through to get your clothes, it's in and out, and it's just something we needed to do some maintenance on. So she took the dresser drawer out and flipped it over. She took all the clothes out. So she took the dresser drawer out, took all the clothes out, flipped it over, and she lined every wood piece along the border that slid across the in and out sections of the dresser shelf. After a few ins and outs of moving the dresser drawer, it eventually got a lot quieter and it went away. Now, we ended up by doing it every few months, but it really solved the problem. Not only did she use it on my dresser drawer, but she used it throughout the house. She would also use it on the squeaky door hinges, especially in the cabinets in the kitchen. And she would even use it on the window latches. We had a latch that you just kind of thumbed around and it slid through a loop, and that's how it locked and unlocked. And she just ran a little edge of the soap, and that just made it a little slippier and a lot quieter. Okay, you made it. You made it through tip 5, and now we're on to our hot tip. Now, we are a family of campers. We camped pretty much my whole life until I left the house. And we started with tent camping, which, if you're a tent camper, you know that you don't come with a lot of gear and you're cooking outside for the most part. For the most part, you're cooking outside. And we had a pot. Now, it was a big stock pot that held a lot of water. And that's what we used to sanitize and do dishes and clean the pots and pans and the utensils, because we didn't use plastic or paper. And every night that pot would go on the fire, because we had a fire every night, until the water boiled. And that's how we did our dishes and everything at night before we went to bed. Now, that pot, we had one pot, became full of soot. And my mom had a way to handle it. She would take the little soap slivers and she would scrape them all over the outside of that pot. It was a big pot. So she just scraped it on, top, bottom, all the way around, except for about an inch or two from the top. And the water would boil in there, and then she would take that pot, and after it cooled and the water was gone out of it, she would put it into a garbage bag, and that would come home with us. Now, when we got home, she would take it out of that bag and she would just spray it off, take a sponge or one of her rags out of the rag bag, and she would just wipe it off, clean it up, and it came off. That soot came off so easy. She let it dry outside. She let the pot dry outside. She put it into a fresh, new garbage bag and put it away for our next camping trip. Now, I hope that these stories and these tips of my frugal life with my mom and a bar soap have been a lot of fun for you to listen to, and you have some memories just like mine. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks for now. Bye.